Hey everyone, welcome back to Stone to Moon, your gateway to the untold stories of the ancient Philippines. Today, we need to have a serious conversation about identity, history, and a lie that has lasted for over 3 centuries. For generations, the narrative has been very simple: Spain arrived, Spain conquered, and Spain civilized. We were taught that 333 years of colonial rule completely overwrote the Filipino identity. We were told that religion, culture, and even the blood running through the veins of the people were fundamentally changed by the West. But recently, science has done something that history books could not. It looked at the microscopic level, and what it found didn't just challenge the colonial story, it completely dismantled it. It turns out, the history of the Philippines is not written in Spanish ink. It is written in a genetic code that is older than Spain, older than the Roman Empire, and older than recorded civilization itself. Let's start with the cold, hard numbers. If you look at other former Spanish colonies, the genetic impact is undeniable. In Mexico, the European genetic footprint is massive, often ranging between 60 to 80%. In Argentina, it can be as high as 90%. So, logically, after more than 3 centuries of occupation in the Philippines, after the galleon trades and the settlements, you would expect a similar result, right? Wrong. When geneticists finally analyzed the average Filipino genome, they found that the Spanish contribution is almost invisible. It is less than 3%. Let that number sink in. Less than 3%. Despite generations of being told that the mestizo look was the ideal, despite the colonial brainwashing that foreign blood improved the race, the biological reality is that colonization was barely a scratch on the surface. The indigenous DNA didn't just survive the conquest, it remained the dominant force. But if you don't have Spanish DNA, what is occupying that space? This is where the story turns into a mystery. In 2021, a groundbreaking study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences revealed that Filipinos possess something much rarer than European ancestry. You possess the genes of a ghost species. The study found that Filipinos, particularly the indigenous Negrito groups like the Eta and Agta, carry the highest level of Denisovan DNA in the world. The Denisovans were a distinct species of human, cousins to the Neanderthals, who went extinct about 50,000 years ago. While the ancestors of modern Europeans were still huddled in caves trying to survive the cold, the ancestors of Filipinos were already navigating the islands and interbreeding with these archaic humans. You literally carry biological proof of a history that dates back to the Ice Age. To understand the magnitude of this, we have to look at the timeline. The genetic identity we call Spanish is actually very young. It was formed by migrations from North Africa, the Roman conquests, and Germanic tribes only a few thousand years ago. In contrast, look at the discoveries in Callao Cave in Luzon. In 2019, after 12 years of study, archaeologists announced the discovery of Homo luzonensis, a completely new species of human that lived on the islands at least 67,000 years ago. Even more shocking, stone tools found in the same sediment layers date back 700,000 years. This means human ancestors were thriving in the Philippine archipelago, while the land that would become Spain was buried under thick sheets of glacial ice. The colonizer was a genetic infant compared to the civilization they tried to conquer. So, if the Spanish narrative is a lie, what is the truth? The DNA reveals that modern Filipino blood is actually a combination of 4 ancient and powerful stories. The first story belongs to the Negrito populations. Groups like the Eta and Batak represent one of the oldest genetic signatures in all of Asia. Their lineage split from the rest of humanity nearly 50,000 years ago. They are a living time capsule of the first human journey out of Africa. The second story is the Austronesian expansion. About 4,000 years ago, master seafarers from Taiwan began the greatest maritime migration in human history. They brought advanced agriculture, pottery, and navigation by the stars. Their genetic legacy is found in 85% of modern Filipinos, connecting you to the people of Hawaii, New Zealand, and Madagascar. This single bloodline conquered 1/3 of the planet's surface using nothing but wooden boats and knowledge of the ocean. The third story is the trade DNA. Long before Magellan ever set sail, the Philippines was a global hub of commerce. Genetic markers show ancient mixing with Chinese, Indian, Arab, and Malay populations going back over 1,000 years. The Kingdom of Tondo had diplomatic relations with the Song dynasty of China. The Rajanate of Butuan was sending ships as far as India. We have found Chinese ceramics from the Tang dynasty and Indian gold in Philippine burial sites. This wasn't a primitive society waiting to be discovered. It was a cosmopolitan civilization that was already connected to the world. And the fourth story, as we mentioned, is the Denisovan heritage. The fact that Filipinos carry more of this ancient DNA than Aboriginal Australians proves that the archipelago was a center of human evolution long before the pyramids were built. The colonial powers tried to hide this. They tried to erase the evidence of the civilization they found. When the Spanish arrived, they didn't find savages. They found a society that rivaled medieval Europe. They found writing systems like Baybayin and Kulatan. We have the Laguna copperplate inscription, a legal document from the year 900 CE. It records a debt acquittal with specific names, dates, and witnesses. This proves that Filipinos had courts, calendars, and a ruling class that was literate centuries before the average Spanish peasant could write their own name. Then there is the gold. The Spanish chroniclers were shocked by the amount of gold the locals wore. They wrote that Filipinos wore gold as commonly as Europeans wore iron. The Surigao treasure, discovered in the 1980s, contains a 4-kilogram solid gold sash and a gold death mask that displays incredible artistry. The intricate weaving of the gold threads shows a level of metallurgy that was arguably superior to what was available in Europe at the time. And let's not forget the maritime technology. The Balangay boats, excavated in Butuan, were engineering marvels. These were not simple canoes, they were ocean voyaging vessels capable of carrying nearly 100 people and tons of cargo. In the year 320 CE, when Filipinos were building these ships to cross the open ocean, the Roman Empire was collapsing. So we have to ask the question, why is the Spanish DNA so low? Why, after 333 years, is it less than 3%? The answer is resilience. In the Americas, smallpox and other diseases wiped out up to 90% of the indigenous population, creating a void that the colonizers filled. But in the Philippines, the population remained robust. There were millions of people spread across 7,000 islands. The Spanish presence was mostly concentrated in Manila and a few key cities. They were a drop of water in a massive ocean. The indigenous gene pool was simply too strong, too established, and too ancient to be diluted. The DNA did not disappear, it absorbed the invaders. The ultimate irony is that for centuries, the mestizo class, those with mixed Spanish ancestry, were placed at the top of the social ladder. They were considered more beautiful and more sophisticated. But science has exposed this as a myth. Most Filipinos who believe they have a Spanish great-grandfather are actually mistaken. That lighter skin or those specific features often come from ancient East Asian mixing that predates Spain by thousands of years. The colonial brainwashing tried to make people hate their own reflection, but the genetic code never lied. So the next time someone tells you that Filipino culture is just a borrowed version of the West, tell them to check the science. The Spanish era was just a brief moment, a blink of an eye in a timeline that spans 50,000 years. You are not a byproduct of colonization. You are the descendant of the first navigators, the master shipbuilders, the goldsmiths, and the survivors of the Ice Age. The blood running through your veins doesn't belong to the conqueror. It belongs to the land. It belongs to the ghost species that walked these islands before history began. And that is a truth that no history book can erase. Thanks for watching Stone to Moon. If you want to support the reclaiming of this history, hit the like button and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what part of your heritage you are most proud of. See you in the next video.